morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, LinkedIn Live. We are live. Takes a few seconds to connect through to LinkedIn. So let's see how we go. Good morning, Junior Beaman.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Or I feel like I should say good morning, Coach.
Coach, yeah, dressed for the occasion.
I absolutely love it. I was just saying how your black t-shirt makes mine look so faded like the song Faded. But good morning. How's your week been, Junior?
Oh, it's well, you know my weekly roundups on LinkedIn, so you'll see it on Saturday or Sunday. But I've been where I've been this week: Manchester, London, and Sheffield. So just three cities this week, nothing major.
Yeah, just 3 cities. I always love it if I make Junior's weekly roundup, I must say. Good morning to anyone that's joining us live on this very sunny morning. Sun hasn't broken through the clouds yet, but I feel it's going to be. I think they're saying today might be the hottest day of the year in the UK, right?
So
Like
far,
up to the 20s. Yay. So we love that. We love that. So if you are watching us live, please do put a good morning in the comments. You know, we love to see who's watching. If love to see if anybody's out there. Let us know how your week's been. Maybe let us know how the weather is where you are. But yeah, we've got Junior Beaman. If anybody doesn't know Junior Beaman, please do give him a follow, even if it's just to see where he's been this week, his weekly roundups, because Junior is always working in at least 2 or 3 cities each week. So Junior Beaman, I asked him, I got ChatGPT to produce your introduction, Junior. So let's see how good it was. So it says Junior, an impressive track record, over 17 years at Natwest Group, which is incredible. I know that Junior looks a lot younger than people would think, but yes, he has been at Natwest for 17 years. Currently a senior leadership coach, real passion for developing others, continuous learning, and fostering collaborative relationships. And you've done a little bit of retail before that, haven't you? Because I didn't realize, but I saw a little bit of Zara in your background before, right? We love Zara. We're not going to be doing a Zara haul today, unfortunately. So, morning. Somebody has joined us from Birmingham. I'll see if I can check out and see who that is. Morning, both. Fresh and sunny in Birmingham. Love to you both. Thank you for joining. So yeah, career at NatWest, and you've done lots of roles at NatWest. Obviously, over all of those 17 years, customer experience, Scrum Master. Where you've picked up obviously agile methodologies, branch management, and you've done some pretty impressive locations actually. The Manchester Piccadilly, Leeds Victoria, etc. And now you are a coach. You're a coach within NatWest. We're going to get into all of that. So Junior Beaman, thank you very much for joining me this morning.
You're welcome. It's like this is your life. That.
Yeah, and you're usually one of the first ones saying good morning as well. So I'm almost missing that in the comments. I'm missing Junior sort of saying it's Friday in the comments. You always bring the energy.
You forgot to mention on my well, I've not put it on my LinkedIn. When I first started working at NatWest 17 years ago, I was actually a cashier, and very bad, like terrible. So literally, I could talk to customers till I was blue in the face and like book lots of appointments and help them with their needs, but I could not balance that to save my life, Cheryl. They reached a desperation point and gave me a purple felt tip. I had to put a big W on my withdrawal slip, so if I was wrong, I could find it easier, and it still didn't work. So they took me off, put me on the phone instead to sort of learn other things, but I could just put him up there instead, save it for the bank.
That's hilarious. Oh, I've just realized who that good morning has come through from. I've just checked on my phone. I'm double hatting. It's the lovely Shania Ferdinand from NatWest. Good morning. I love it when these worlds collide. So, I know Shania as a result of her being a judge for the Amazing Black Talent Awards, which I used to look after the judging for. Good morning, Shania. It's so lovely to see you. Shania, tell us how your week has been. I'm really interested to see what Shania is up to. I'm hoping to see Shania in a few weeks, but that's for another session. Okay. Junior, so you are currently a coach at NatWest. Tell us, so you talked a little bit about a little bit about your journey through NatWest. How did you end up in this role? So how did you get into coaching at NatWest?
Yeah. I think I always wanted to be a coach, especially when I became a manager, a branch manager, because we had coaches then. They were a bit more directed coaches because they trained us on things. But I remember thinking I want to do that role. That role looks really fun and really interesting. But it was so hard to get hold of. Like, once people get that role, they cling on for dear life because it's such a great role to have. So I kind of gave up on the idea, carried on into social media for a little bit, then went to work and opened the branches you mentioned in Manchester, Leeds, and then eventually went to work in strategy as a Scrum Master. I reached that point in my career where, you get to that crossroads and you're like, what am I going to do next now? Because I'm doing these things, but I don't love these things. So I've got a mentor. We have got one of our ERGs, or ELNs as we call them, is the Multicultural Network, and they do an annual reciprocal mentoring program. So I signed up for that. Yeah. Got really lucky in the sense of I got my reciprocal mentor was the head of executive search at the time. And I was like, God, I struck gold with this one. I got lucky. She was so good at helping me sort of narrow down what I was going to do next in my career. So she said, you seem to really enjoy coaching. You've talked about coaching as a leader. You've talked about coaching as a Scrum Master. And you seem to be very good at comms. I've seen the way you write articles. She went, so maybe narrow it down to those two things that you want to do next. So I started learning more about coaching, thinking hopefully one day a job will come up. And then in our financial crime department, I don't like the term lucky, but it was good timing that it just came up, and I've just finished my mentoring relationship. So I applied for it, got that role, and that was like nearly 3 years ago now. And since then, it sounds really cheesy. I don't care. It's Friday morning. Let's bring some cheese to Friday morning.
Let's bring some cheese.
You find a role that completely aligns to your purpose and your values and who you are. And I remember thinking back, because I completely forgot that I wanted to be a coach back in the day. But I do remember, because I didn't go to university, I'm from a lower socioeconomic background. I always wanted a job as a psychiatrist or a therapist or something to do with human psychology and adult learning. But when I look back at my journals and I remember writing about it, then again, because I thought I'm never going to go to university, I won't get the opportunity to do that. So why not just get a normal job and carry on? But then all these years later, I'm landing in a job that's centered around psychology and human psychology behavior. So it all just meant to be, Cheryl.
I love that. And honestly, there's so many things in there that you said that we're going to unpack, right? Because in that little kind of snippet that you gave us into your journey, there's so many things in there. You talked about reciprocal mentoring, which we'll get onto maybe when we talk about your the employee-led networks at NatWest, as you call them. We'll talk about the difference between reciprocal and reverse mentoring. But you talked about being lucky. And I mean, there is that Richard Branson quote, it's something like, it seems like the harder I work, the luckier I get, right? Because there is luck and there is, sometimes these serendipitous moments. But actually, I really want to just delve into a little bit when you explained about how that role came about, albeit that it seems the seeds were sown a long time ago, obviously, in terms of, your purpose and what you really wanted to do. And your passion, and maybe I'll ask you this question about whether people should do roles that they're passionate about, because I think it links very well into the networks. But I just really want to delve into what you said about almost like how the role came about in terms of the conversations you had with people, because I do think for employee network leaders in particular, they often find themselves at crossroads, and sometimes they're thinking about, should I lean into like the D&I space, or more working with people, or should I lean into my technical discipline, or my functional area? And you said some stuff about, some of the conversations you had and the questions. And so I just want to delve into that a little bit more, linked in to this whole thing about passion. So what were kind of like the questions or the conversations that were sort of like pivotal to helping you, end up where you are doing kind of the thing that you love? Do you know what I mean? How would somebody go about doing that?
Yeah. It was pretty, my jobs that I was doing were quite vast in terms of you had your leadership, or you running a Scrum, you're working at Agile. And I guess when I had the mentor, she probably was a coach, to be honest, thinking back, because she asked some really good questions around what is it you enjoy doing? Like, what like what gives you that, as you say, passion and energy when you come to work? What is it that excites you to come to work? Because we can all chase the highest grade, or we can chase the next salary band, but for me it's kind of like I want to enjoy going to the office. I want to enjoy I don't want to wake up and be, you know, that person that's like, oh, I can't be asked today because I don't want to do my job. It's more like, if I feel that way, it's just because I'm tired. So she helped me sort of pinpoint the key activities or things that interest me personally that would lean into the right job for me, and what strengths I could bring to it. Because I feel like when you're really passionate about something, you're going to be way stronger in it because you genuinely. So she just helped open my eyes, I think, when she said that.
That's really interesting. So having a mentor, and you said it was part of like reciprocal mentoring, and maybe we'll talk about, I mean, maybe we'll use that as a segue into, you know, talking about reverse mentoring and the benefits of that, because I know that is something that a lot of networks do. But you talked about, and this is the beauty of having somebody like a mentor within the organization or a coach, that they can help you through, as you say, almost like the thought process to kind of then end up in the right role, right? This is called like the power of coaching is what we called it, and what you've explained there just does it beautifully, right? So I'm just going to check back in with who we've got in the comments. We've got Tom Gold. Tom, I had Tom on last week. Those of you might remember we were talking about the phenomena that is adolescence, right? Morning, Tom. Tom is joining us from Balfron in Scotland, so I'm guessing that Tom is maybe running some sort of sessions up there for men, which is lovely. We've got Shania in the comments. Lucy Hodges, good morning, Lucy. Morning, both. Enjoying this whilst on the school run. Do you know Lucy Junior?
Yeah. Lucy works in the E&I team. Fantastic.
Oh, amazing. Good morning, Lucy Hodges. And then we've got somebody else that said they're joining from the train. For some reason, I don't always see all of the names that come through. It's just something to do with how the tech connects, but I'll see if I can find out who that is. Let's get on to networks. And obviously, you know, we've got the term employee resource groups for anybody that doesn't know in terms of ERG. If you didn't know that Junior was a coach, you can see it on his T-shirt. But one of the things that, and I'm so pleased that you're debuting the T-shirt on this LinkedIn live. But one of the things that I love about NatWest is that your employee-led network leaders, as you call them, have access to coaches. I don't think I've come across another organization that has that. I know I've come across some organizations that do have things like supervision from like a mental health first aider perspective, but not access to coaches, which I absolutely love. Good morning, Kate Kowalska. Hope I pronounced that correctly. On a morning walk, loving this. And and even the T-shirt is getting love now.
Hey, good. Custom made.
Custom made coach.
Yes.
Okay, so talk about the coaching and tell us a little bit about the networks at NatWest, and then just tell us about the coaching support that the network leaders have access to, because I think it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Okay, so we have 8 major employee-led networks in NatWest. Some of the key ones, or the largest ones, should I say, are our gender network, our multicultural network, our Enable network, and the Rainbow network, which I run for the LGBT community. So we've been with this for a long time in NatWest. So the Rainbow network turns 20 this year, and the gender network turns 20 next year. So we are in this big celebration phase, and to see how far we've come and how structured we are. We had a meeting with the CEO yesterday. Actually, we see him a couple of times a year, and even his comments about the impact that we make and how well we run as an organization within an organization. It's just I'm really proud to see how well we do and how the difference that we make across the business and our communities. So each ELN has, depending on the size, the bigger ones have 3 or 4 co-chairs sometimes, and then we've got 3 in the Rainbow network. But we recognise in the organisation that you are leading your own little business. Technically, you're leading a committee, you've got a budget to manage, all these things you've got to do, and you're doing that on the side of your desk alongside your day job. And we've talked about this before, where running an employer-led network, there's a lot of emotional labour that comes with it, and you've got to have that resilience that strength and support that you need to be able to do it well,
to
look after yourself and the people you're there to actually help in the first place. So we, our coaching proposition in Natwest is my team. We normally work with the senior leaders, or talented sort of middle management sort of leaders, but we did decide that it'd be beneficial to give the EL leaders access to coaching because of the pressure that comes with the role, and sometimes the barriers they'll face and the conversations they want to have confidentially, just to unlock some of those thoughts or feelings they're having around the role. So we did that for the first time. I think it was last year. We've also got access now to sort of AI coaching, which I'm like, I'm taking my job. No, I'm joking. it's not it'll never be the same. But we have access to that. It's more light touch, obviously, but I'm very keen because I'm part of that space to bring coaching in as much as possible. So my other coaches roll their eyes at me. They're like, here's Junior now, is going to ask us a coaching question again this month. I'm like, what do you mean it's great? I expect it now, because we need to talk about these things. How are you feeling? Like, how are you doing? It's not an easy job.
Absolutely. You know, there's so many things that you said there, Junior, but the one I want to pick on specifically, because I think this is a topic that I'm maybe going to delve into in future sessions, but you talked about the emotional labor and you know, combined with the fact that people are doing this on side of desk, and we know that, and we know how much time people put into it. I did a LinkedIn Live a couple of weeks ago where Audrey Tang, who's a psychologist, was saying actually part of what drives the burnout isn't necessarily even so much the workload, you know, the pressure on the workload. It's the emotional labor bit. And when she said that, it just kind of made so much sense, because when you think about it, and it's something we've talked about, I know previously, you know, sometimes you get individuals that want to get involved in this work, and something you talked about as part of your intro was that passion part, right? And a lot of people get involved in the networks because they've got a passion for making change, you know, for social justice and all of those things. But that brings with it a lot of emotional labor, right? And sometimes, so the coaching, I think, helping an individual to manage that, you know, manage that internal, you know, sort of struggle and all of those things, and the challenge and the frustrations and all of that is absolutely, it's really important, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because I think we spoke about when you come into this space of work as well, coming in from the right place yourself. So if you're coming in with sort of unresolved anger or like trauma that you are clinging on to, it's going to be even harder for you. So even now, using my coach techniques, because I'm stepping down from the Rainbow Network this year, so 3 years coming to a close, I'm being very honest with the candidates who are looking to apply for the role, and being asking them a lot of coaching questions on how are they approaching this. Because if you're coming in from that place of, like I say, anger and trauma, you will burn out way quicker, because you're not in the right place to just handle some of the pressures or sometimes the delays. Things take a long time to change. You'll know when you're trying to change a policy or a process. It's not like, okay, press a button and that's changed. There's a lot of conversations involved, a lot of negotiations involved. You've got to really argue your case sometimes and get the funding and all that. So you've got to have a level head and be in a good place to be able to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in terms of what you're saying there around, you know, sometimes there is, as you call it, unresolved anger. You know, I sometimes call it sort of unprocessed trauma as well. And I think this space, and not just the space of networks, but I think D&I, you know, more broadly than that, you get a lot of people going into it that still have a lot of unprocessed trauma. And then there's a lovely phrase that I think came from Brené Brown, but I heard Daniele Fiandaca first using it. It was leading from a place of hurt rather than leading from the heart, right? So we go in from a place of hurt rather than heart, in terms of, you know, how can we work with people to make things better, and it can make things quite challenging. So yeah, absolutely get why coaches are necessary. And so, you know, anybody that's watching this that maybe looks after the networks in their organization, I would really think about that. Or, you know, talking about something that you mentioned, you talked about reciprocal mentoring. So maybe just explain, for maybe people that haven't heard that term, just explain what you mean by that, and maybe how it's different to reverse mentoring, which is something that probably a lot of people will have heard of when it comes to networks.
Well, why don't you describe reverse mentoring to me first?
Yes. Well, yeah. So I'll have a go at describing reverse mentoring. So reverse mentoring is quite common, particularly with employee networks, and it tends to have the main objective, I would say, of raising awareness in senior, specifically often exec leadership, around the lived experience of people from other backgrounds that are in the organization. And so typically it is more junior employees are effectively mentoring the senior leaders, but it's really around lived experience, kind of so that the execs get to hear what it's like in the organization for people from a different background. That's how I would kind of summarize reverse mentoring. So it's more of like I think its objective really is more of an awareness piece for execs. Yeah, and I'll just park it there. I'm not a huge fan of reverse mentoring. Right, I try to be as diplomatic as possible. But if it's done well, it can work well. But explain reciprocal, because I think a lot of organizations realize that reverse mentoring can have its drawbacks. So just explain reciprocal.
Yeah, it's kind of like reverse mentoring, but it's a two-way street instead of this whole, like, the way you describe reverse mentoring there, I as a junior colleague would not want to do that. Because I'm already trying to navigate my career. I'm already trying to sort of figure out what I want to do. Why is it my job now to help a person of a certain demographic understand my struggles to make them a better person? It's like, I know that's probably not that's how I would view it if I was a more junior colleague.
Yeah.
With reciprocal mentoring, it is that two-way street. So yes, I am going to help you understand some of the challenges from people of color or LGBT people or whatever it might be. But the reciprocal thing is you're mentoring me, you're going to help me navigate my career, you're going to help teach me things and hopefully unlock some doors for me and all that kind of thing. So we're both getting a benefit from this relationship, clearly outlined in a contract, rather than it just being like, okay, come and tell me about being black today. It's not going to happen. No, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that would be a fun conversation.
Yeah,
but
like, where do I start?
Yeah, probably best done out of the office.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally get you. Louise, just going back into the comments, the person that is said they love your t-shirt is Louise Lyons Appiah. I don't know whether you've met Louise or whether you've come across Louise Jr., but Louise is founder of a youth-led EGI consultancy, I want to say. So Louise is a Gen Zedder that's literally changing the world, which we love to see. And Kate also said as well, such a good point on leading from a place of nurturing and coaching, rather than kind of leading from that from a place of anger. So what you're saying there in terms of the reciprocal, it's really clear. And I love the fact that you mentioned a contract. I know when it comes to networks and how you run things at Natwest, it is very much like a mini organization. And I guess, and because you've all been going for so long, you've got a lot of standard operating procedures and clear role specs that give people an idea of how much time is involved in running a network or being on a committee and all of those sorts of things, which is great. You've really got that kind of professionalized approach to networks, which is brilliant. And so for the reciprocal mentoring as well, that it sounds like you guys are really clear with the expectations and how it will work to give that guidance to make sure the individuals get out of it what they need. Yeah,
the full application process. The advert clearly outlines what they're signing up for. We do a shortlisting, we do matching based on grades and parts of the bank that you work in. So it's a very well-oiled machine, and everyone's aware of what they're signing up for, and everyone benefits equally.
Yeah, I love that. Tell us a bit about why you got involved in leading the next. And the Rainbow Network isn't the first network that you've been involved in the leadership team, right? I think you've been involved in the Multicultural Network as well. So just tell us a little bit about how and why you got involved in running networks.
Yeah, when I left frontline banking, I had more time to manage myself. I mean, you don't have time, but you can manage time better. So I knew I had more flexibility to support the networks more. So I was like, right, well, now's the time for me to get more involved, because I sort of dipped my toe in a little bit here and there, but someone called me and said, "Oh, can you help run the North region for the Multicultural Network?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Sounds fun. Let me go and do that." 2020, obviously, when this happened, and then George Floyd was murdered and COVID hit, and it was like, this is going to be harder than what I thought. So it became quite an interesting 2 years of lessons on how intense it can be running even part of an employer-led network, because of the massive focus on Black Lives Matter at the time.
Yeah.
And the first time ever that the CEO of the bank made an actual statement about anti-racism and George Floyd and all that kind of stuff. So the colleague sentiment was way heightened. So the work coming towards us was bigger than ever before. And I'll never forget the lessons I learned through there around sometimes how passion can be misplaced and people want to make a difference and help by getting involved. But the first thing a lot of people do is like, find a Black person, ask them their struggles, and find a Black person to come talk about their trauma. So we did a lot of learning in those years. When that 2 years came to an end, the global co-chair for the Rainbow Network came available, and obviously being a Black gay person, I can sort of wear both hats at the same time. And I was like, you know what? Why don't I apply for that one now? Because I've done some ethnicity for them in the past. Why don't I step up and be the global co-chair? Applied for that, got that, and 3 years later, here we are. We've had such a good 3 years. So it's been a journey.
I love that. And we were on a call. We were on a call last week because obviously you're going to be on a panel at the ERG Leader Summit, and it's so interesting. You know, when you talked about being in that leadership role for the Multicultural Network around the time of George Floyd, and you know the panel that you're on at the summit is around what do networks do, you know, when there are issues like that arise, you know, geopolitical, socio-political, when there is conflict, etc., war, etc. You know, what is the role of the networks and how do you navigate all of those things? So I won't ask you all of those questions now, but you know, I'm really pleased that that you could join us on that panel, because it is a, you know, it's definitely an important topic, and knowing how to navigate that, and you know, when people in the organization and, like you say, potentially even the CEO maybe comes to the network and says, what do we do? It's you know, it's something that employee network leaders have to be able to kind of work through. So so thank you for agreeing to be part of the summit this year, Junior.
Looking forward to it.
I want to go on to just how do you juggle everything, right? How do you juggle everything? Because for anybody that's read your weekly roundup, their head's probably spinning. They're probably getting tired just watching Junior whiz up and down the country. Right? How do you, and you're running a network, right? How do you juggle everything? Because I know that's something that a lot of people ask. The other thing actually that a lot of people ask, which if we get time we'll get onto it, is how you engage frontline colleagues, right, that don't necessarily have, you know, emails and all of that. If we have time, we will get onto that. But how do you personally like juggle everything? How do you do it all?
Well, I'll just start by saying I don't have children, I don't have a pet, and I don't have a partner. So I have time, like, you know what I mean? I ain't got no one like demanding my attention like that. But I reckon if I did add my hours up for the week, I'd probably do more than what I'm paid for. But someone said to me the other day, like, it might be you actually, when you really enjoy what you're doing, it just feel that way. So for me, it's like, I do listen to my body. I do recognize when I need to rest. I do make sure that I speak to other coaches, because coaches will help me sort of, am I doing this because I feel like I have to, or am I doing this because I want to? Am I burning myself out? And I met a group of amazing coaches last year at the Black Voices in Coaching Research Conference. It was the first ever one. Decolonizing coaching, because a lot of the models that we have in coaching are created in the Western world, and don't look at the nuances around cultures and different ethnicities and backgrounds. So a lot of research has gone into this for the last 3 years, and now we've got conferences for it. So I did it last year, doing it again this year in Toronto. But I met so many like amazing people I can talk to there, a community of diverse coaches who have been through it, who have probably done all this extra activity and being as busy as I've been in the past, and I hate that word, but busy in a good way. And the one person that I really want to call out is Jenny Garrett, because she is RW, and she is a fantastic coach. I met her at the conference. I was emceeing the conference, by the way. Biggest thing I've ever done to date at that time. I was dreading it, but I was so thankful afterwards. And Jenny wrote this book, Equality versus Equity, which I absolutely love. I love it. It's so thin, I can read it very easily. But also, it's so practical, and it makes you sort of stop and think as well, like, is this busy work or is this impactful work? And if it's if I know it's impactful, I'm happy to keep doing it. That's the main thing.
I love that. And thank you for that book recommendation. Jenny Garrett, and you can find Jenny on LinkedIn. I should get Jenny on here, actually. You can find Jenny. I should get Jenny on here. You can find her on LinkedIn. I love what you said there in terms of really thinking about, in terms of what you're doing, like, is it busy work or is it impactful work? And that's something I talk to networks about, in terms of, when you're doing your planning and you look at the calendar and you look at the action list, is it impactful? I sometimes get people to do like a 2x2 matrix, whether it's high impact, sort of high doability and all of those sorts of things. But yeah, focusing on what actually brings most benefit is kind of a way to sort of prioritize what you're doing, right? But yeah, I was saying to you about, when you love what you're doing, even if you're putting in a lot of hours, the work tends to be quite energizing.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're not really, inspired by what you're doing, then you feel quite tired, even if you're maybe not even spending as much time doing it. So, I love that.
You won't catch me up at 6 o'clock in the night doing an Excel spreadsheet, trust me. I ain't doing that. If it's something to do with coding, I'll do it. But it's Excel,
Whereas that would be me, with my old finance hat on, my accountant background, right? I love an Excel spreadsheet, me.
All right, I know what to go through now then, don't I, for the Excel formulas and stuff.
Exactly, yeah. Different strokes, right? Good morning, Lisa Ardley Price. And I should say, so Lisa's joined. I should thank Lisa, actually, because it was Lisa that introduced me to you, Junior. In fact, Lisa was like, Junior would be great for like a panel for the summit. And Lisa also will be at the summit. She's going to be opening up, actually, with like I'm not sure exactly what, but it's going to be something that is really mindful. Let me just
Lisa dance moves. Maybe she can do a start with a dance. She was dancing at the Involve Gala the other week. So
amazing. Right, let me get back through the thoughts, and then I'm going to circle back to just your tips on engaging frontline colleagues, because that is something I know comes up a lot for networks. Good morning, Akshay. Tiagi, thank you so much for joining us. Gosh, what a hefty job. I feel for you, Junior. I don't know where, I'm guessing that's probably Louise in there. Lucy Hodges has said, what's next after Rainbow?
She's what a spicy question. Stay tuned.
Spicy.
I'll be announcing in a few weeks.
Yeah, or will be revealed, Lucy. What helpful question. Very timely, as I've been thinking about spreading myself too thin. Will this have an impact? Yeah, it's a really important question, isn't it? And Lisa said here, do more of the things that light you up. We get burnt out by the things that don't. Absolutely. It's a bit like like Marie Kondo says, does it spark joy? Right? Does it spark joy? That's the thing. Andrea, a girl after my own heart. Love an Excel evening project. When I first started as I found my tribe. When I first started as an auditor at EY, I used to sometimes have like a bank reconciliation or something to finish, and I'd be like working on it all night, in a spreadsheet. Crazy. Amazing. So let's just go back to this. I think the final question before we start to wrap up in terms of the benefits of coaching and all of that. Engagement with frontline colleagues, because you talked a little bit about that, and it's something that a lot of organizations, especially huge global organizations with lots of frontline colleagues who maybe don't have access to email, and other tools, etc. And as you say, when you're working, say for example in branch, you're kind of just like 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 or whatever the hours are on the job, or dealing with clients, etc. Just tell me about how Natwest has kind of like figured that out in terms of engaging frontline colleagues in terms of the networks.
Yeah, I mean we still are, because it just it's one of the hardest things to do, because they have doors to open and customers to serve, and that's why we exist, to serve our customers. So we're not going to deprioritize that. So it's how do we, as the employer-led networks, be flexible and agile, And we had a strapline for our Pride campaign a couple of years ago. Everyone is welcome. That is the thing. Everyone is welcome to the ELNs. Yeah. You can apply to be a committee member if you want to, all that. We do have an email for all colleagues now in Natwest, so I will say that. It makes it easier because everyone's got email, everyone's got the internet, everyone can access our pages. But we understand that they don't have time to read them or use the internet as much because of their roles. So we work very hard to try and create events specifically that will cater to the times that they can make it. So we know that a lunchtime on a Friday is going to be carnage, or just after a bank holiday is going to be carnage. So it's having that awareness of the peaks and troughs where we can actually reach them. What can we bring to the frontline colleagues? So can we go into the centres and do like pop-up stands? We do that a few times a year to get them engaged. Can we do pride campaigns? Which branches can we send merchandise to, get photos of, get them involved? So we have to go out to them sometimes. That's it's extra work, but it's worth it to get everyone involved.
Yeah, I love that. It's one of the things that I'm always saying to networks as well, and especially, you know, in terms of resources. I mean, I know that at NatWest you've got quite big teams, you know, leadership teams and committees in your networks, but for organizations that maybe you've got fewer people involved in running your networks, this is where if you work together as a team of network leads, you can share those resources, right? So if one person is going out to a particular site, because typically these are like operational sites, you can represent all of the different networks, right? You don't have to just only talk about your network. You can go out there and, you know, take material or, you know, merch out with you or whatever it be, or have a banner that's for all of the networks. So that's how you can do it. I'm totally with you, Junior, in terms of going out to those operational sites, because sometimes as head office staff, having been in the corporate space, sometimes we stay in our ivory towers a little bit too much, right? So there is this thing about getting out there.
Just bring it to them. And also we have in our network we have committee roles. So we actually recruited 2 people called frontline engagement officers. So their role is to engage with frontline.
Yeah, perfect, amazing. You've made it really explicit. Okay, we're gonna wrap things up now, and I know that some people, if they've got a 9 o'clock, they're probably they're probably like hanging on or multitasking. Let's just sort of like wrap up, just talking about some of the benefits of coaching for either the network leads or others. I know we've talked about that a little bit, and just also any final bits of advice that you've got maybe for any employee network leads listening, or anybody out there that's looking after their employee network leads and maybe thinking about how they can give them more support in their roles.
Yeah, I think it all ties in together nicely. So as an employer-led network or ERG leader, you are, as it says, a leader. You are what people are looking up to. They're probably admiring you, aspiring to be in that role at some point. Just check where you are in terms of what you can give. So a coach will really help you sort of navigate some of these challenges, talk about these blockers, relieve some of that pressure, hopefully, so that you can show up the best for everybody else who relies on you to run that network and be that force from the front. So I feel like that's probably one of the things I would say most, just looking after yourself and your own mental and physical well-being with the support of something like a coach, whether that's a digital coach or, roll my eyes, or a in-person coach. I'm actually going to start my own coaching business this year to support people in ERGs and things like that. So reach out. But yeah, just find a way to look after yourself so that you can do this in the best possible way and show up for everyone.
Yeah. Amazing. Junior, thank you so much. And thank you so much for the amazing t-shirt as well. Because you've really kind of like brought the energy, as I knew you would. It's so nice to have you this side of the screen. Comment there. This has been a great conversation. Thanks both. So much resonated, from the additional emotional load to doing what lights you up, to the inspirational people that are around us to look up to. You're both doing excellent things. Thank you so much for that comment. Oh, so one question here from Savannah. Sorry if I missed this, but is there such a thing as a right time to have a coach? And we've got Lisa saying, go get coached by Junior. Is there such a thing as a right time or a right type of person when it comes to coaching?
We were saying this on my supervision last week. So right time, right coach. So is it the right time? Is it the right coach? But a good coach will give you the contracting that you need to understand this is the right time. So in the first initial chemistry contracting session, we will understand your needs for the coaching, and the client. So I think any time's the right time to explore it, and then the first session we'll take is the right time to continue it.
Yeah, amazing. I love that. Thank you, Tom. Tom said, always enjoy the Cheryl Miller show. It's not. I'm actually always saying it's not the Cheryl Miller show, but I love that, Tom. That you've called it that. It does need a name. It has no name.
You're like the Oprah of ERGs. It's like, come on, we start giving gifts out. You get a cry.
You get a coach. You get a coach.
Yeah, oh God.
Good morning, Olusegun. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name there. Oh, take care of yourself so you can extend the same to others. Absolutely. It's really good advice that we're getting here from Junior. Junior, thank you so much for joining us. I feel that you've given us some real gems this morning, and hopefully for any network leads that are maybe watching this, they'll get some encouragement and some energy and some vibes from you. Please do reach out to Junior, if you've got any questions or you want to know a bit more about coaching, and also organizations that are maybe thinking of putting some more structured support in place for their network leads, because I do really think that this is something amazing that Natwest does as well. Junior, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And if you want to hear more from Junior and from Lisa Ardley Price, who's one of the another amazing network leads, you can join us at the ERG Leader Summit in June on the 19th in London. But thank you, everybody that has joined us live this morning. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. And if you're watching on the replay, thank you for taking 41 minutes out of your day to tune into this. Lucy, thank you so much for joining us as well. Right, Junior, I'm looking forward to your weekly roundup. I'm looking forward to being in your weekly roundup.
Screenshot.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Have a great weekend.
See ya.